My name is Noah McKenzie. I am a senior from Youngsville, North Carolina, which is kind of the middle of nowhere. It's a little north of Raleigh. I'm majoring in peace, war, and defense and political science. And after school, I am moving to Nicaragua for 8 months to do Young Life ministry there before I come back and maybe law school, maybe seminary. Still up in the air.
What are you passionate about? Give me multiple things. And how have you focused on it or discovered it in your time in college?
Yeah, what am I passionate about? I think one thing I'm passionate about is good leadership, and that can take a lot of. There's a lot of realms that happens in college. As big of things as the way a professor leads in class, or the way Madison Perry leads the study center, or the way my two pastors at Risen Christ Church lead the church. And you're just involved in a lot of things in college, in a lot of organizations, a lot of people time. And so leading and learning how people lead people well, it's something I really care a lot about, and it's just like a natural thing. I don't have to work to be interested in that. But I think a beautiful thing about college that has enabled that is there's a lot of leadership in the small ways in college, in your suite, who's going to lead in service, and getting a friend group to do something. Whatever, if you might be involved in ministry, who's going to lead there? Are you going to lead in your class to ask questions and answer things when people are scared to answer? And so that's one that college just has a lot of different areas. I played JV basketball here and was lucky enough to be the captain of that team. And so that was a really practical way that in an unreligious sense, in a non-Christian setting, figuring out how to lead guys in a way that was fun, and I was their equal while also trying to bring the team to do something that we all wanted to do. But then really in a Christian way, figuring out college is just such a great place to, in whatever way you might be called to, eventually grow in being a leader. And so for me, that's looked like, and a lot of hopefully being a dad and a husband one day, maybe being a lawyer or a pastor one day. So that's one thing. There's a million other answers I could say, but.
What is one of the lessons that you had to learn to be a good leader?
Yeah. I feel like there's several. The cheesy, obvious, and I don't want to say overstated because I don't think it's stated enough, is that to be a leader, you also need to be a follower. You can't. I just said there's a sense of vulnerability as a leader that comes when you kind of let someone else take the mic, take the reins, and kind of direct, whether that's, again, the small and the big, whether that's in a pretty big leadership role of a club or a team, and you let someone else kind of speak to people or do the team or have the final decision. For me, I've learned that several times this year. I lead my Young Life team, the Young Life college team here at UNC, and letting other people kind of make the decision sometimes, and especially when it's their kind of strength or skill set, take control. Or other times, in leading people, a lot of the best ways to encourage and involve them is actually to just let them lead at different times, whether that's something small like in a friend group, or again something bigger in a club. So I think that's one that no one wants to follow an arrogant leader. You never hear. And there's so many descriptions of good leaders. You never ever hear of someone being an arrogant or or even an overconfident leader and being a good leader. You never hear someone described as a good leader if you can't describe them as being humble or as being fine with giving others the glory and not having it all for themselves. So that's been a big one. And in the Christian sense, we're all under leaders. Like we're all, doing it under someone else, that being Christ. And so I think that's one that has been prevalent in college.
Kind of off of that, with no shortage of Christian community, churches, and opportunities, like what advice would you give your younger self, or what was your thought process in choosing like where to invest and what leadership to put yourself under?
Great question. There's so many options. I remember, everyone is overwhelmed in every small way when they come. You don't know campus, you don't know classes. Connect Carolina is crazy. There's so many things that we were overwhelmed about. I didn't think choosing a ministry or choosing clubs was going to be one of them. And then you come and you're like, there's a million ministries, there's a million clubs, there's a million opportunities, which is a blessing, and anyone can realize that, but it also can be overwhelming. The first advice that I would give my younger self that I think I received is try everything. There's never a fault with plugging in too quick. I don't think that's a bad thing, but like, do everything your first semester. Try, be involved in a couple ministries if you feel drawn to them. You like the idea of a club, try to do it. But there's a cap on that. I think one thing I tell freshmen, I've led just in college life, led a lot of freshmen since then. And I normally tell guys after your first semester, or especially after your whole freshman year, that's when you dive into something, because it just won't be worth. It won't be valuable for 4 years if your feet are in too many different camps. So try everything, but then there's a lot of good questions you could ask. The main one I think would be, where's my home? Your home at Carolina that's kind of metaphorical, because hopefully home is somewhere else. For me, it's Youngsville. But who's your home people? Like those are the ones that I think are like a companion of fools suffers harm. And I think I'm really thankful that I've been in many different communities, and JV basketball and Young Life and church and study center and a couple different clubs and major things. But I'm thankful that my home community has been a group of guys that love Jesus a lot. And so I think whoever there's a lot of different questions about what leadership to put yourself under or where to plug into. I think plug in with some guys or girls who love Jesus a lot. And then the others will kind of fall into place, I think, as you realize that your time is not unlimited, as you realize that you like this artistic thing more than you like this sports thing, or as you realize that you like this group of people and you just enjoy time around them more than this other group of people. Those things will fall into place with time.
So, going off of that, how did you meet your best friends? And what do those friendships like? What do friendship rhythms look like, and how are you intentional with friendship?
Yeah, that's a great question. Because it's super different. In high school, you go to school every day, you see each other every day, maybe they sleep over on the weekend, maybe you're playing sports with them, in class with them, but, FaceTiming about homework at home. In college it's different. There's a different level of intentionality that is required and is available. And I met my best friends at UNC, the main group of us, we all still live together. We met in a Young Life Bible study freshman year. A bunch of us came in and did way camp. A bunch of us, several of them, did not do way camp, but the study center camp. And I got to know this guy named Parker Mendenhall, who invited me to his Bible study. And he had invited several other guys, and then also had me invite my sweet mates and some of the other freshman dudes that we were hanging out with. And we were all in a Young Life Bible study. And we were kind of bouncing around to other ministries, churches, come to the study center, all get in different clubs, a couple business majors, a couple STEM majors. And then we decided to live together. The decision to live together comes pretty quick, overwhelmingly quick. And we went for it and decided to live together, and it was one of the best decisions of college. And so living together has really done that. We lived at the D's, which is just a classic UNC house, our sophomore year, and then moved to Park Place, which has been amazing, junior and senior year. So that's kind of how we got to know each other. We've added different guys. A friend's brother kind of became part of the group as he transferred. Other guys that came around the study center. You know, guys have lived with us and then didn't, and then hadn't, and then now do. And but the main core group is still the same. And in terms of like how to cultivate that and be intentional with that, there's really a cap on like your tight friends, like the guys or the girls that really know your heart, or that you really spend a lot of time with, or kind of share what you're struggling with and weaknesses and strengths. I think those are super valuable to pour into. I think a big thing, the guy I worked at a summer camp my summer after my freshman year, and it was all guys camps. There were about 100 guy counselors there, and he had said a quote that always stuck with me that I think applies to a lot of what my friendships have been like in college. He says, when guys share and this goes for girls too, share their strengths, it breeds competition, but when they share their weaknesses, it breeds community. And that, I've just seen that so many times again, of when I'm going to get lunch with someone, putting myself out there, when you share the like good parts about yourself, it just breeds intimidation and competition. But when you share the real parts, like the weak parts that you're embarrassed about, and then on a deeper level, when you get close with someone, you're like confessing sin. Like those types of relationships only come by being vulnerable. Like, you know, I'm not best friends with my best friend because we like love sports, even though we do. Like that's great. Or because we like lead Young Life, even though we do, and that's great. We're best friends because we've like shared weaknesses together over 4 years. And so I think that idea is a big idea, but it's also like super practical. Like it's super easy to like practice vulnerability in friendships. But it takes, like me and my best friend have gotten Sutton's together, which is, you know, the diner, every morning for 3.5 years. Not every morning, sorry. Every week, once a week for 3.5 years. And that's where a lot of those conversations have come. And other friends that we go on walks regularly. Yeah, there's great times when you're in class together, or when you're on an IM team together. The highs are super sweet, but I think the real friendships and the lasting ones, the ones that really mean something to me, have come from intentionally sharing weaknesses, and that's rooted in following Jesus together.
That's good. Talking about faith, like what are some of the faith habits that you have been most intentional about in college, and how they've like shaped you and helped you grow?
Yeah, that's just a great question. I think it's a great question for every time of life. I think there's 3 that I just like would beg a freshman, guy or girl, to do. And number 1 is time in the Word and abiding with the Lord. And, you know, that's all throughout the Scripture. It's the essence of the Christian life, is a relationship with God. For me, and I think probably for most people, getting up early to do that has been the like valuable piece. I'm tired when I'm going to sleep. And someone in high school, when I'd really started following the Lord for the first time, shared something, was like, if time with the Lord is like this recharge and practice in a way, or rest in a way, why would you do that after the game has been played? Like do that before the game has been played. Meaning like do that before your day, do that before you live in the world. So that's been a like slow mornings. I try to schedule, I like morning classes, but not 8 a.m.s or 9 a.m.s, because I try to keep that time reserved for, if you can wake up earlier than that, great. I realized when I had an 8 a.m. that time when the Word got sacrificed pretty quick because I was so tired. And so, you know, disciplined at a different season. But time in the Word and prayer with the Lord, definitely number 1. Plug into a church. I was talking with my dad last night about being involved in a community, because you know, post-grad, and that's a big thing. And he was talking about the myth of Lone Ranger Christianity, of like that actually doesn't exist. Christianity is not by yourself. And college is a great place to do that with other college students. My pleading for a freshman would be, go find a church where you're around college students, but you're also around old people who have been walking with the Lord for 50 years, and young kids who you can pour into, and, you know, all sorts of walks, diversity. So Risen Christ has been amazing for me. There's amazing churches in Chapel Hill and Carborough and Durham. So go get involved in a church, and not just on a Sunday. Like, go dive into a church. That's been a great habit. And then the third is ask someone to disciple you, and don't wait. When you come to UNC, there'll be a million, as long as you're looking, and probably even if you're not looking, there'll be so many upperclassmen and post-grad girls and guys who would love to like spend a meal a week. Absolutely, maybe if they're too busy, a meal every other week, and just talk about, have fun and get to know each other, but also just, all right, how's your walk with the Lord going? What are you learning? What are you reading in the Bible? And just intentional questions. Those 3 habits, there's others, but those 3 habits have been the 3 most crucial that I can like point to. Like, I am marginally, very smallly, more closer to who Jesus is now, 4 years ago, because I spent time in the Word, because I spent time in a church, and because I was discipled by an older guy.
Really good. I want to switch gears slightly and talk about like.
Yeah.
We talked a lot about how there's so much at Carolina, and so I have kind of 2 questions that are the same, which is like, what is something you said no to or wish you said no to, or like, what sacrifices or good trade-offs have you had to make to like pursue the things that are important to you? That can be academic, that can be personal, that can be like faith related. All that.
That's really good. And I think that's a question I will continue to like reflect on as I leave Carolina. One thing that I have said no to is a lot of, this is not I don't say this in a prescriptive way for every UNC student, but it is the route I've chosen, and as of right now, I've been thankful for it. I've said no to extracurricular academic activities, meaning I'm a poli-sci and Peace Corps defense major, so like a lot of law, a lot of history, politics. I'm not in the pre-law club at UNC. I'm not in any sort of academic fraternity, or I'm really not in a lot of academic clubs. I think I've taken my academics pretty seriously, and I love class, and I don't really skip class that often, and I've studied a good bit, not near as much as a pre-med major has, but I also, I knew that the most important thing I wanted to make UNC about was Jesus, and that campus ministry and church was just going to be the biggest part of that. So I wasn't willing to sacrifice that. And then I knew that this was going to be a unique time to play basketball, and so I didn't really want to sacrifice that. And so there's a lot of opportunities, and I think you can have both. I am interested in law school, and I am kind of headed down that route, and so me not doing an extracurricular academic thing hasn't inhibited that. Maybe I have a few less legal connections than I would have, and maybe I have a few different friends than I would have. That's something I kind of decided pretty early that wasn't going to be a time priority, because there's in so many ways, college is the most time you'll ever have, but those get filled pretty quickly with good things, and so that's something as of right now I'm thankful that I have said no to. It's kind of the sacrifice that the sacrifice idea is wrapped up in that. Sacrifice, I particularly think a lot of my sophomore year, I was working a job like 20 hours a week. I was also playing basketball, trying to lead Young Life, and getting involved in a church while still doing class. And so there was definitely, that is the year I think of, in the season I think of with the most sacrifice at college, that, things just started getting checked off. extra one-on-one time with guys that like weren't like the two guys that I was like committed to hanging out with every week. Kind of got pushed off. A bunch of like afternoons at the study center just hanging out got cut because I was working most of my afternoons. And so those are things that like I didn't plan for those things. And I remember like really praying a lot about just decisions of what to cut or what to sacrifice. And I think it's one thing that it comes as the season comes. And you know, I think the priority list of, okay, what is the most important thing about my life right now? Okay, what is the second most important thing? And then how can I just budget my time? I had it, you know, people talk a lot about like a financial budget. I had a time budget in college of like literally like a spreadsheet. Okay, like these are however many hours I'm like needing to sleep. This is the rest. What am I doing with all these? And you start with your have tos and then your want tos. And so, yeah.
That was good. All right, I have, I think, 2 more questions.
Yeah.
One is just like, I don't know how to phrase this question, but I just want to hear about some of your, college has a lot of opportunities. One of those is traveling.
Mm-hmm.
You've gotten to go on some awesome trips and are about to. Just tell, like, how, like, spring break, how do you decide where to go? What is the motive behind that? And then also your traveling.
This is a great question. I came in to UNC, a bunch of my older brothers went to college and none of them really had big college travel experiences. So it was not on my radar at all that I would get to like travel a lot around. And it wasn't part of that was a financial thing. I didn't have a lot of money to travel. And so I wasn't really expecting it. Spring break, I thought coming in I would go home and work for spring break and make some money, and I just I totally understand how that's a need for a lot of people, but I would beg someone to go do something with your friends. You can find great cheap trips and just spend time with your friends. I went to Nicaragua 3 times. There was a Young Life trip to Nicaragua that started my freshman year that a bunch of my friends were going on. And I was going to go home and work, and pretty last minute, against my parents' wishes, I decided to go to Nicaragua, and it's changed actually the trajectory of my life in a lot of ways because I'm moving to Nicaragua now, and just traveling has been really sweet. I'm not a traveler at heart. I don't love being away from home. I love Chapel Hill and I love Youngsville, and I'd be content to be there a lot, but I also love meeting new people. It's been really sweet to get to know believers around the world who are following the Lord. So spring break's a great time. If money's an issue, mission trips, I never paid a dollar out of pocket for mission trip because I ask friends and family and study center people and everyone, because people want to give money for someone else to go do a mission trip. So mission trips have been a great way. My sophomore summer was kind of my abroad summer in college, or my abroad time. I didn't want to study abroad because I loved UNC too much. So I decided to take a summer. So I went and visited my parents who were abroad in Germany. Study Center had a Kenya trip that I, again, fundraised for, which was just a really life-changing trip to, again, be in a different culture, do it with people you love. Some of my best friends, really my best friends, are the people I went to Nicaragua with and the people I went to Kenya with. And then I also happened to have an internship that summer that allowed me to go to the Czech Republic to do a basketball camp, which was really sweet. There also, that's kind of some of the travel. There's also just UNC opportunities. The one to talk about, there's 2 scholarships. One's called the Phillips and one's called the UNCS scholarship. I was lucky enough to receive the UNCS for postgrad. So this summer I'll be traveling all around the world, Europe, Africa, Asia, Australia, on UNC's dime, because they have been blessed with a lot of resources, and they thankfully love to give those resources to students. And so if you just keep your eyes out, there's like read the emails. There's actually like a lot of ways to get travel paid for, and to just do it in a meaningful way, visiting other Christians overseas, being in a community that's unlike the communities that you've been in, challenging yourself in new ways. Traveling's been a highlight of college that I did not really expect to be.
Okay, I have 2 more questions, but they can be like one answer.
Okay.
Or one sentence answers. Something you wish you knew coming into college that like you would tell your younger self. And then the second one is like the characteristic of God that you learned the most about or seen the most in college.
That's two fantastic questions. Something I wish I knew. College is fantastic. Maybe the most unique 4 years of your life. The saying that this is the best 4 years of your life is misleading. I think it's not true. And it definitely doesn't start for everyone the moment you get on campus. So that's a myth that a lot of people believe, and it leads to false expectations. And it did for me. I love UNC as much as anyone, but it's not necessarily just the best 4 years of your life. And then a characteristic about God that I have experienced the most, learned the most about, I think the one is that He is our Father. And there's two ways that's taken. One is that He will take care of us. He doesn't promise comfort. He doesn't promise ease. But He promises that He'll take care of us. I've seen that time and time again at UNC. And then the second, probably more bigger one, is that He has an all-powerful, sovereign plan. And the more I realize that I don't have control and that He does, and that that's actually a really good thing for my life, the sooner I'll be content and joyful and peaceful at UNC. Amen. Anything else I want to say? I've said this about Kenya trip, Nicaragua trip. I've said it about UNC. I just don't think someone would regret coming to UNC. It's just like, I loved high school so much, and UNC has just been amazing. There's so much goodness. I tell incoming freshmen all the time that you've just made the best decision of your life coming to UNC. I mean, I truly believe I go to the greatest university on the earth. So, just go Heels, baby.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Connor, anything?
Give me your favorite memory from both D's and Park Place.
Favorite memory from D's and Park Place? Oh, that's so tough. Like specifically like house. Probably more like around the D's and Park Place. Yeah.
I'm gonna go find Joseph Wolf.
The D's, I have an easy answer. My bunch of my housemates at the D's are in a band, and they started that band at the end of my sophomore year, which was when I lived at the D's. And on LDOC of sophomore year, they had their first concert, and it was on our front porch at the D's. And all of our friends were there, upperclassmen, underclassmen, club friends. We had invited a ton of people, and they just played, and we just watched them. I mean, it was so special to see my roommates, all of our friends at our house, and my roommates absolutely just having the time of their life. I mean, it was just pure joy that night. That was really special. The D's just meant a lot to us, and so to have that was really awesome. And at Park Place, man, that's so tough. There have been so many fun memories. Man, I think I don't know if I can pick one. We went on a spring break trip this year. All of Park Place went to Spain. So, and I think when I think of Park Place, I don't necessarily think only of the house. I think of the guys. And so that was a great time with the guys. Times at the house, though, we've had so many just like fires or all 11 dudes sitting in the living room laughing. We'll have sleepovers downstairs. It's constant jokes. It's constant laughter. There's different things that come to mind. A couple parties that we've had that were really great. We had my dad over for a night. We had him over last night, but we also had him over junior year. And a bunch of us just hung out with him for a couple hours, and he gave us pieces of wisdom and his college stories. That was a lot of fun. Yeah, I can't pick one.